Hello and welcome to the Morning Scoop. I am your host, Joe Draime. We're getting closer and closer to Saturday's scrimmage. Yesterday we talked about the state of the Ohio State offense. Today we're going to be talking about the state of the Ohio State defense. Starting with the defensive line, the big point of emphasis for this group is depth and their ability to rotate bodies. The magic number that Larry Johnson's really looking for is about 12 guys, so that says to me that he really feels good about this group. He likes the depth. He feels that he has a lot of guys that could be starters, probably at a lot of other schools. The headliners, in my opinion, are Jack Sawyer and JT. JT played a little bit more than Sawyer last year, but both of them have been in the weight room getting their bodies right. They've had some great camp moments. Sawyer's just been an absolute wrecking ball on the defensive side of the ball. He even had a practice where he made Paris Johnson's life pretty miserable, which is really hard to do since Johnson should really be a top 10 draft pick, so that says how they really feel about Sawyer. But yeah, both of them have been absolutely nasty. Aside from them, Zach Harrison, Tyler Friday, the captain, Javante Jean-Baptiste, they will all be in the mix as well and will all play plenty of snaps. They all offer a little bit of something different. Harrison is really in his money year, so he's somebody that I would watch for to kind of maybe put it all together. He hasn't done it quite yet, but this year he's really kind of trying to become untethered and play fast and play physical, play a little bit looser when he said that he was really thinking a lot more over the past earlier years of his career here. The young guys in that defensive end group are Amari Caden Curry, and Kenyatta Jackson. I wouldn't expect much from them right away, considering how much how many guys ahead of them there are, but they'll work in throughout the year, or specifically early in the year when they're playing some of the lesser opponents, so we'll get a chance to see them still. As far as the defensive tackles go, it'll be a rotation there as well. Tyleik Williams, Teron Vincent, Jerron Cage, Ty Hamilton, Mike Hall. All of those guys plan on working in. Mike Hall's been one of the most impressive players in camp so far. They love his quickness. They love his physicality, his strength, his ability to get to the quarterback. Larry Johnson referred to him as almost Robert Landers-like the other day, and his media availability. So that tells you how they feel about him. But as far as like a young guy goes, Hero Canoe is another one that they really like. He's doing a good job for them. For him, it's just going to be a matter of getting reps, getting experience, and really starting to work in there. Now for the linebacker rotation really seems pretty set at the moment. Steel Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg seem to be the two guys that the staff has really kind of zeroed in on. Eichenberg is clearly a captain. He's the leader of that front seven. Steel Chambers they really like as an athlete, and they think that he can really have a big year for them. The big battle in that room will be really when it comes down to when they're playing against teams with heavier personnel, and they'll be playing three linebackers in that case more often than not. So there's plenty of candidates in there. Reed Carrico, C.J. Hicks are the two younger guys who are really, really talented athletes who have a chance to work in a little bit. Cody Simon is still battling back from an injury, trying to get coached up. We'll see about him. Chip is another guy who they really like as an athlete, and switching over from running back to linebacker, which in my opinion, really, I don't mind that as much as a lot of people might, because running backs and linebackers, even though it's different sides of the ball, have to play, kind of similar styles. They have to run and see the way, the line parts and go find the football. EA is another one. Taraja Mitchell, they're still trying to find a spot for him. It's just going to come down to, maybe the scrimmage could provide some clarity for some of these guys. Who knows? They could even use Cord Williams in these situations, just depending on what they like the most from a personnel standpoint. But we'll see all about that going into game week, I would say. Now, onto the defensive backs. The cornerback room is really probably the biggest area of concern from a depth perspective on this team. Really on the defense as a whole, at least. Denzel Burke and Cam Brown are two that the staff really feels very strongly that they could be one of the better cornerback duos in the country. Burke especially really has a shot to have a huge year that could be a springboard to a third year, trying to get to be a high draft selection. But they have to keep these guys healthy. Jordan Hancock was really going to be the third guy going in, but he's a little bit banged up right now. And I don't expect that to be too significant, but it is something to always keep an eye on. As far as the young guys go, J.K. Johnson, Jair Brown, and Ryan Turner are a ways off, but they are progressing nicely to the point where the staff feels very good about the future of the room. But the inexperience at depth is always going to be a concern because they really only have 3 guys right now that they feel very confident in. While the other guys are very talented, they're just kind of not there yet. As far as the safeties go, this group has been really impressing in camp. They have to prove it on the field, but the staff feels like they kind of have an embarrassment of riches there. Josh Proctor has just been all over the field. He is ready to ascend into that role of being that next great Ohio State safety. He's flying around. He's always around the football. He's been an absolute stud. Ronnie Hickman is as good of a strong safety as there is in America. He's great against the run. You want to see him develop a little bit more in coverage, but I expect that this year will be a much more improved version of him as he plays with more experience. He's going to be playing more confident, especially in this defense that puts a lot of responsibilities on the safeties. For that third spot, that's really the most contested spot between the safeties, without question, I have to imagine Tanner McAllister is going to get the nod there. He knows what Jim Knowles wants. Jim Knowles knows what Tanner McAllister is. That added experience will be important in that room, I really think. But I see that position kind of being an ongoing thing throughout the rest of camp and into the season, more so than camp. But Lathan Ransom has had just such a good camp, as has Cam Martinez. Ransom especially has come on like a hurricane. So those guys could be rotating a little bit more early in the season when they're still trying to find those ideal personnel combinations. And we'll just have to see how it transpires over the course of the year. But either way, the staff feels very confident in the safety room, and they feel that they have a significant edge there over other teams. Court Williams is also another one who's, like we said, repping as a safety, but they could use him as a third linebacker depending on how they feel about him against heavier sets. As far as the rest of the room goes, they're obviously very high on Kai Stokes and his future. His big benefit right now is that he gets to sit and learn behind these guys, as many people have mentioned. But when you have a chance to develop, that is critical. Jalen Johnson and Jansen Dunn are some of the other guys who have been working really hard. They're more depth guys for the moment, but the staff still really likes their talent, and they're going to continue to work and improve. Sonny Styles is also still considered a safety. I'm not really sure how long they'll be able to keep that up for, but just given his size, I think he really is better suited as a linebacker, and who knows, they could use him as a Isaiah Simmons style of hybrid. Moving on to just the system as a whole, the Knowles defense will involve a lot of different aggressive looks. This is it's an aggressive defense that allows players to read and react with their eyes, which is going to allow them to play fast, which they really just weren't at all last year. Too many guys were confused. There was a lot of discombobulation on that side of the ball. And right now it is very much a safety-driven defense too. So the safeties especially will have a lot of responsibility put on their shoulders as far as playing the run and playing coverage against the pass. And I think that's going to help because the safeties, I feel, are, aside from the defensive line, the strongest unit of that defense that's just relatively unproven right now, but I think we'll see it. The D-line is going to be a lot more untethered. They're going to be playing a lot more aggressive. They were playing more in contain in the last few years under the previous regime. And I think that was obviously very detrimental to their production. It's best to let these guys just go and let them work and let them play fast, which is what they've been really focusing on. and playing very physical. As a whole, it's just going to look really completely different. I mean, last year they couldn't even get lined up properly. That's going to be a big change this year, just from in terms of it looking more organized. I know I, for one, cannot wait for us to not have to burn timeouts coming out of a TV timeout because we don't have personnel set up correctly. So overall, I think the defense is setting up to be much improved at least. They have to prove this all on the field. As right now, all of this talk is just white noise, but we're getting to a point where the staff is feeling very excited, and that personally makes me very excited. So anyway, that completes today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow with more daily Buckeye content. Until then, thank you so much for listening, and have yourselves a good day.